A very good morning to everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the pollution, a global challenge. We all know that pollution is the contamination of the environment with harmful substances, causing adverse effects on human health, ecosystem, and even on climate. So when we are saying about the types of pollution, we are having air pollution, soil pollution, water pollution, and noise pollution. Air pollution is caused by harmful gases and even the particulate matters that released into the atmosphere. It affects our health. Water pollution is the contamination of the water bodies, that is through sewage or industrial waste or by agricultural runoff that harm the aquatic life, and even the contaminated water harms our human health also. Soil pollution, that is a degradation of soil quality due to accumulation of toxic chemicals, even heavy metals and plastic waste that impacting agriculture and even destroy the ecosystem. Next is the noise pollution. That is when excessive noise levels from traffic, from construction sites and even industrial activities causing hearing loss, stress and sleep disturbances. That sleep disturbances occur, then it is a noise pollution. Now see, air pollution, we know that the main sources of air pollution are industrial emission, vehicle exhaust, power plants, and burning fossil fuels. That affects our respiratory problem, that heart diseases occur, acid rain happen, and even the climate change that caused by the air pollution because of the addition of uh, greenhouse gases or other pollutants into the atmosphere. Now, how we can mitigate? That is through promote renewable energy sources and improve the vehicle efficiency. We can reduce the industrial emission, and even though we can plant more and more tree. Even air pollution, the legal aspects of air pollution control in India is also taken up. We know that the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act was legislated in 1981. Now, this act provided for prevention, control, and abatement of air pollution. In areas notified under this act, no industrial pollution causing activity could come up without the permission of the concerned state pollution control board. We all know after the Bhopal disaster, a more comprehensive Environmental Protection Act, that is EPA, was passed in 1986. This act was the first time conferred enforcement agencies with necessary punitive powers to restrict any activity that can harm the environment. To regulate vehicular pollution, the Central Motor Vehicle Act in 1939 was amended in 1989. Following this amendment, the exhaust emission rules for vehicle owners were notified in 1990, and the mass emission standards for vehicle manufacturers were enforced in 1991. For the first time, this happened, and the mass emission norms have been further revised for 2000 and later on years. So there is need to have much more strengthened air quality management with continuous monitoring of air if we want to live in a better quality of life, if we want to live in a better environment. Next is water pollution. So any foreign material, either from natural or other sources, that contaminate the water supply and makes it harmful for life, it causes toxicity, which leads to reduction in normal oxygen level. That is called the water pollution. So basically, sewage discharge, that is the untreated wastewater, comes from home or industries that contaminate the water bodies with harmful bacteria and even pathogens. Industrial waste, toxic substances added into that, and that impact on the aquatic life and even human health. Agricultural runoff, we are using fertilizers and pesticides in agricultural fields that added to the water bodies through streams. So through runoff, so agriculture wash will go into the water bodies and leads to the eutrophication and contamination. So eutrophication, it is a process in which nutrients accumulated in a water body, and that resulted in an increased growth of microorganisms. The addition of nutrients into the water body is a eutrophication, which is again not benefited, not helpful. Then the oil spillings, that is, accidental spills of oil from ships and drilling operations that caused widespread damage to the marine ecosystem. So, if we say what are the impact, what are the implications? The food chain can damage through this water pollution. Infectious diseases, for example, typhoid, diarrhea, cholera, can be contracted from drinking contaminated water. Pollutants in the water can alter the overall chemistry of the water, causing changes in acidity, even temperature, and conductivity. All these factors affect the marine life, the food chain, the trophic levels. And marine food sources are contaminated or eliminated by water pollution. So, the control measures, if we are talking about, that is reducing the nutrient and pesticides, that pollution, by encouraging smarter agricultural policies and practices and using biodynamic farming and planting. No-till planting we can use. Re-establishing wetlands to act as a buffer zone to runoff and to assist in filtering the pollutants. That can be used. That is very benefited. Improve the sewage treatment system to stop the leaks in the pipes, and even improve stormwater management. Stop deforestation to soak up the rainwater and prevent runoff. To develop and enforce legislation relevant to the management of residential and tourism development in the coastal areas. These are certain steps which we can take to stop or to curb the water pollution. When we are talking about soil pollution, it happened due to the industrial waste, agricultural practices, marine activities, and even plastic waste caused that. So, toxic chemicals and heavy metals released from industries that accumulate in the soil, and it poisons the crop, it poisons the soil, and it harms the ecosystem. In agriculture practices, we are using the excessive fertilizers and pesticides, even herbicides, that leads to the soil degradation later on, and it depletes the nutrient content of the soil. Mining activities, mining operations, and other pollutants are added, releases there when we are doing the mining activity of heavy metals. So, contaminating water sources harm the wildlife and even us, plants, us human beings, animals. So, plastic waste, microplastic, and plastic debris accumulate in the soil that control the plant growth and disrupting the soil ecosystem. When we are talking about noise pollution, so there are basically, when we are measuring the noise pollution or sound, that is a decibel unit. In that we are measuring the noise level. The instrument is known as decibel meter, and decibel is the unit. For testing the purpose, 0 decibel is considered to be the threshold of hearing. A whispering is about 20 decibel. An average speaking voice is about 60 decibel. The loudest sound that a person can stand without discomfort is about 80 decibel. Automobile's horn may reach 90 decibel, while jet airplane may have intensity of about 140 decibel. All these things are impacting us. But how they are impacting us? Through traffic noise, hearing loss, stress, and sleep disturbances happen. Construction noise makes temporary hearing loss, makes the high blood pressure, even anxiety happen. Industrial noise cause hearing loss, cardiovascular problems, and workplace accidents. Now, when we are saying the sources of noise pollution, there are two categories: neutral, and one is the natural, and another one is the artificial. So, natural sources, it includes lightning, thunder, volcanic eruption, earthquake, sound of ocean waves, etc. So, their impact is limited and not very harmful. But artificial sources include transportation, automobile, rain engine, buses, fire brigade, aeroplanes, industries, noise, high-pitched musical instruments, electronic devices, and even loudspeakers, etc. They harm us. They cause the hearing loss and even anxiety, disturbances. So, causes, what are the major causes of overall pollution? Number one and foremost is the population growth. Because increased demand for resources is also attached with the population growth. Energy leads, energy increase, demand energy, regarding the energy also increased, and it reached to the higher pollution level. Industrialization, manufacturing processes and industrial activities release pollutants into the environment. Urbanization, which in itself is a process that concentrated population in urban areas, they generate more waste and pollution because industries are more in industrial areas. In urbanization, in urban areas, we are having more and more industries. Transportation, vehicles release harmful gases and particulate matter into the atmosphere. Consumerism, in that what we are doing, excessive consumption and waste generation contribute to pollution and resource depletion. Deforestation, clearing forest that what they reduces the carbon sink because forest and oceans are the biggest carbon sink. So they leads to the exacerbate to the climate change and air pollution. What is the impact of this pollution on the environment? We are having biodiversity loss because our habitat has been degraded, leading to the extinction of many species. Water scarcity we are facing. Contaminated water sources reduce the access to clean and safe drinking water. Climate change, greenhouse gas emission contribute to global warming and even to climate change. Human health issues happen. Respiratory problems, cardiovascular diseases, and other health issues emerged. How we can mitigate? So, what are the mitigation strategies for pollution? Three R's are very important. That is reduce, reuse, and recycle. Reduce consumption, reuse material, and recycle waste to minimize the pollution. We can use the sustainable transportation modes, promote public transportation, promote cycling, walking, and reduce vehicle emission. Renewable energy, we can use that. Invest in renewable energy sources, for example, in solar, wind, and hydropower to reduce the dependence on fossil fuels. Even pollution control technologies are there. Develop and implement those pollution control technologies so that we reduce the industrial and vehicle waste, vehicle emission. So, when we are concluding this, there is a need call to action. बातें हो गई. Now there is a time to take the action. क्यों? Because we all know that pollution is a very complex and indeed a multifaceted issue that requires collective and collaborative efforts of every stakeholders. Every stakeholder is required to be included. We need to adopt sustainable practices so that we can save our planet for future generation. So thank you so much and happy learning.